Welcome to You Not Crazy Conversations of Hope podcast. We are on episode 7 today, talking about couples therapy and its benefits and how it can strengthen your relationships. Listen, couples therapy can be a powerful tool to strengthen relationships, improve communication, foster deeper connection. And so I'm so excited because I have a couple joining us today, and they are Jon and Deniece Frazier. Hey guys, listen, they are a dynamic duo. They're dedicated to supporting each other and their community. Listen, they've been together for nearly 5 years and recently married. Congratulations, guys. Listen, they built a strong foundation rooted in love, respect, and growth. They are both graduates of FAMU.
Hey.
Yes, they have used their education and experiences to positively impact those around them, fostering deeper connections within their local community. You know, what I love about them is their passion for relationship growth and open communication, which has ultimately led them to explore couples therapy as a powerful tool for strengthening their bond. And so they are here today to discuss how therapy has not only improved their relationship, but how it can help other couples overcome challenges, deepen emotional intimacy, and enhance communication. So I'm so excited that they're here today to share their journey, and I hope that and ultimately hope to inspire other couples to embrace therapy as a path to lasting connection, understanding, and personal growth. So I definitely believe it's through their shared experiences today that they can continue to improve that. Investing in your relationship is one of the best ways to grow together as partners and even as individuals, all right? So I want to give you a quick fact about couples therapy before we hear from them. Listen, the American Association for Family Marriage Therapy has even found that 97% of couples report having gained valuable insights from therapy, and 93% of couples feel that they are better able to communicate after seeking therapy. This is proving that therapy isn't just for those in crisis, but for anyone looking to strengthen their relationship. All right, so we're going to talk and dive into it with the Fraziers. So let's go ahead and start. And so, hey guys.
Hey.
I'm so glad to have you guys here, right?
No,
so,
thank you.
Thank you for joining. So I just want to make sure that we help couples understand how important it is to go to therapy, right? And so what were your initial thoughts about couples therapy even before you started?
Yeah, well, I had been to therapy before as an individual and, kind of worked on myself. I'd also had like leadership coaches and things like that. And so felt like I was somewhat familiar, but I still felt like I only used them in crisis. Like all of those situations was when like something was happening and I really needed to feel, help kind of pull myself out of it. And so that was kind of how I thought about therapy, I think, before coming into this relationship.
Yeah, very similar. You know, I knew what individual counseling looked like and what that therapy was for myself. And then in the past, I've been to couple counseling after the Titanic had already hit the iceberg. and so that was a little bit too late. And so walking into a relationship where I knew that I wanted it to flourish and I knew the direction that we wanted to go, when she approached me with doing it even, while we were just in our inkling stages of our relationship, I mean, it made sense to me. And so
I love that. So what I'm hearing you saying is that it's not just for struggling relationships, but it's a way to be proactive.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah, I was going to mention, we, how it all kind of came about. We actually, hadn't argued or, there wasn't anything in crisis that happened.
Yeah, too good to be true.
It was almost that moment where it just felt a little, too good to be true.
Okay.
And I knew my own, inclinations were a little bit avoidant. And I wanted this to work with him. And so I was like, hey, I wonder if he'd be open to this. I think it would help me feel like I can share what's on my mind and not do it in a way that feels unhealthy. And to my surprise, he was totally down. He was like, yeah, let's go.
Awesome. So basically, again, I hear that you're saying couples therapy is a way to be proactive and it's a tool to strengthen the relationship. And I love that you guys said y'all even started at the earlier stages of your relationship before you got married.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
Okay. And so can you kind of share what your actual experience has been like in couples therapy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start, but we love our therapist. Dr. Melissa is amazing, and we have had like such a positive experience with her. Like, it really is centered around like our goals. Like, we did goal setting when we first started going, like individually and as a couple, and you know, she regrounds us in that, and it's a lot of like application based. So it's not just we're talking and, you know, just talking about whatever, but it's like, oh, you want to grow intimacy. Like, here's how you get there. And so like, let's, you know, do this, or like, here's some exercises, or like, let's talk about these things as it relates to like growing in that way. And so like, for me, it just feels, if it was really action based, and I'm like very action oriented, and not just, like I said, just kind of like talking just to talk about whatever. Because we're not going through a crisis. I think if we had like a point of conflict, maybe it would be different. But like her approach with us has been very forward thinking, and like, okay, if you find yourself in this situation in the future, right? Like, here's some tools, here's a way that you could actually maneuver through that.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just with the tools aspect of things, I mean, she's been just very instrumental with helping us talk through like what it would look like if X and Y occurred. And I think for us it's important because you mentioned too like the avoidance aspect of things, right? And so I think when we were walking into the door of counseling, we were concerned that maybe there were some things that we weren't saying to each other. We were tiptoeing around. And I know for myself, I'm a Cancer. Okay, so I can be a bit emotional.
Okay.
And so what I didn't want to happen is me to hold on to things.
That's good.
And then for one day,
Boom.
on a bad day,
Right.
when you in the shower too long or whatever, you know what I'm saying, that I come out and let me tell you about yourself, you know, that I've been holding on to this, you know, so I didn't want that to be my experience or yours. And then for you, I know that, you know, for you it's like, oh, I don't want to ask him this because I'm afraid. But then for you, then it's like, I didn't ask him, and now I think he's cheating.
Right.
You know
I make up stories.
Yeah. I understand.
Hey, girl, yeah, just ask me.
Right, exactly. The anxiety, and then it builds up, and next thing you know, I made up a whole story about what he's doing.
He didn't eat his sandwich. He must be, Lord, girl, I wasn't hungry.
Exactly.
You ain't asked.
Exactly.
You know? So I think, you know, being with Dr. Melissa has helped us, you know, understand, you know, each other better. And I think that's
good.
key. The other thing is understanding the why. So now I learn, you know, much about myself, you know, and then I understand more about her. And then I understand like why she has those behaviors too. You know, seeing what's underneath that, you know, understanding her family dynamics and how she was raised. And those aspects are key because now that I know that, right, I have the foundation. Now when we do, you know, when something does arise, I know how to handle that. I know how to react based off of what I know about her foundation versus, you know, before where it would have just been like, you know, why are you acting like that? And I just don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so,
Yeah, we talk a lot about like two sides of the strengths, right? So like you know, like everybody has core strengths, but there's always a flip side to it. And so like you love and you're drawn into like, oh my God, I love this about you. But then on the flip side, there's that other thing. And so, yeah, the understanding the why he does the things he does, it helps me be like, and remember, right, that on the other side of this, like, I love the other side. And so I love that she kind of helped us. Because, you know, you talk to people and you understand, like, how they grew up and their background. But, like, until you really get into the, you know, the trauma and the whatever, because everybody experiences trauma in childhood. And so until you really unpack that and understand how it shows up, like, now, you're not really connecting those dots. Like, she helped us connect a lot of dots. Yeah.
I love that. So what I'm hearing you saying so far is that she's giving you guys strategies to communicate, right? I think one of the areas I think with couples is conflict resolution. Okay. So what would you say were some of the strategies that she gave you guys for conflict resolution?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of like, I think for me, I'll just say like what I took away from it was the listening, part, right? And the like we are on the same team part, like kind of just being grounded in the fact that we might disagree on this point that we're having right now, but like we're still a team and we're on the same side. And so like not to look at the other person as the enemy. Like yes, you're in conflict, but you are not enemies. And so like just, you know, trying to kind of keep that top of mind and then to listen, not to respond, but to actually listen and understand like why he's feeling the way he feels or the point of view that he has, and let that stand on its own. Like I don't need to try to convince him like that I'm right or whatever. She also talked to us a lot about stop. Anyways, she also talked to us about like, what was it? It was something about like it doesn't have to be like right or wrong or black or like people can have their like differences and you can still kind of like either agree to disagree or like find something in the middle, right? Where it's like, okay, you're getting what you need, I'm getting what I need, and we'll leave the rest behind. So like it doesn't have to be zero sum.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Ditto. I reciprocate.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been, yeah, he's making me laugh because of the whole thing, like me saying he's right. I've been like really working on that.
I'm working on it too.
And I feel like he need to work on it a little bit more because I'm like, I don't ever hear you say that I'm right.
You right.
He's giving you room to grow into that.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like, right? So, I love it. And so, you know, it sounds like when a couple thinks about what to expect, it sounds like you have a therapist who gave you different approaches. And I know you said she's goal oriented. Then also she gave you strategies to handle different areas of the relationship, right? And so even with, you know, he allowing you to grow into that part of saying that, you know, he's right, or, you know, how would you say then did therapy challenge you both individually and as a couple? Let you take this one.
I would say the challenge for myself was, make sure I say the word right, but intentionality, right?
Okay.
And good. So I think oftentimes, you know, people will say like, oh, a relationship isn't good unless it's easy.
That's good.
Or like, oh, you know really what, good. You know, or then you'll hear the other side, right? Which is like, a relationship is hard work. And then it's like, okay, well, what? It ain't no in between.
Right. Black or white.
But I think a relationship is intentional.
That's good.
You know, so based off of, you know, what we've been uncovering is just every day, you know, you walk into it with, you know, with an intent of we are on the same team, you know? And so the goal is not for every day to be perfect, but to understand that if every day we both walk into it as individuals with an intention of, you know, making this, you know, a positive, you know, growing, loving, you know, relationship, then, you know, then that's how you grow. That's how you make it work, right? And so I think for me, it was learning that aspect of things. Yeah. So.
I love that. That was well said. Thank you, Jon.
I'm not even going to try and follow it.
Right. No, I'm just not, because that was awesome. I have nothing to say after that, right? But no. So it sounds like you guys are making the most out of therapy, and I love that, right? And so what were some of the biggest changes that you noticed in your relationship during therapy?
Yeah, well, I mean, we started talking more. Okay. Not that we weren't talking before, but just, I think we really, going back to your word intentional, like having intentional conversations about what we were feeling, like, you know, was there anything bothering us? Like, how did I show up for you this week? Like, actually asking those types of questions, not just how you doing.
Surface level.
Right, like what's going on at work. Right, like digging underneath. So that definitely changed. Like, we actually were carving out time for each other, you know, like specific date nights and like time to, you know, build more intimacy. Not, you know, not talking about, not that there's anything wrong with sex, but intimacy on all levels, right? Yes. So like that was very important, and really like hugging each other, looking into each other's eyes, like doing exercises like that. That kind of shifted, I think, our relationship. And then also, this isn't because of therapy, but this also coincides with us like finding a church together. And so like we started praying more and, you know, doing like that spiritual side of our relationship also grew at the same time. And so like, I think I've seen that change in the 5 years that we've been together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I really like, which, you know, the fact that you brought in or talked about the weekly check-ins, right? And so hustle and bustle. You know, we don't see each other. Actually, when we first started dating, we didn't live together, right? Of course, so that's kind of difficult, right? You don't see each other. You got your work week, I got mine. Maybe we'll spend some time. We stayed in the same city, but we would see each other maybe like once a week, and then on the weekend, you know, if we weren't busy. But during that, of course, we're talking to each other, we're texting each other, but that's not the same thing as actually checking in.
Good.
You know, and so for us, it was every Saturday morning. We knew that's our, you know, our little downtime, right? So why not wake up next to each other, you know, and then talk. TV is off, you know, the phone's away. Let's just talk. What's going on? How you feeling about this? Hey, I know that you said that this week you were dealing with this, yada, yada, yada. How you feeling about that now? How does that make you feel? You know, like digging a little bit deeper. 30 minutes. I mean, we ain't talking about a lot of time neither. And we good. All right. I got it. Now, also, now I know how to respond. That's good. And I know why you might be, you know, a little quiet this weekend, you know? Instead of me saying, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Right. You know, I don't have to because we already checked in, you know, stuff like that. And then also, like, you know, with the hustle and bustle thing, too, is, you know, when I'm going off to work, you know, she works at the house. And so oftentimes in the morning, I'm scramble mode. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let me grab this. And then you're out the door. Hey, bye. It's so easy to do that on a consistent basis. But then that intentionality kicks in, right? And it's, wait, before I get out the door, let me take 30 seconds, go in here and give her a hug and embrace for 30 seconds.
I love that.
Or a kiss for 30 seconds. All right, love you. Now go. What's 30 seconds? But doing that, though, makes a world of a difference for the both of us, right? So I just love like little tactics like that.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, I am taking away that it requires intentionality.
Amen.
Couples therapy has taught about intentionality and it's giving them the tools. And while therapy helps many relationships, there are times when a couple might need to consider separation as a healthy option. And I want us to kind of discuss those things, right? Because ultimately therapy will uncover deeper issues sometimes like abuse, manipulation, or fundamental incompatibility, right? And so if you are in dealing with any of those, then sometimes taking a break is necessary. So I do want to share that because sometimes, unfortunately, there's just that fundamental incompatibility. And I'm not saying stay with somebody if they're abusing you or manipulating. So I do want to kind of throw that out. But ultimately, guys, again, I appreciate you guys helping to break the stigma within our community about couples therapy, right? So what would you say to couples who feel nervous about seeking therapy? Any words of encouragement?
Don't be nervous. Like, you know, and it's also about fit. Like, you have to, we shopped around. We didn't just go with the first therapist that we found. Like, we had a couple of intro calls with some therapists, but when we met with Dr. Melissa, we knew. Like, we left that phone call knowing, like, this is it. It was her approach. It was like the questions she asked, and it was also just kind of like a vibe, kind of like dating, right? Like, sometimes you just click with people. But anybody who feels like, oh, therapy's not for me, like, maybe you tried it, maybe that person wasn't for you, but like there is someone out there that will connect with you, and it really is like it's like maintenance, right? Like, you know, go just like you go to school and you have to learn things, like you have to learn strategies. Like, nobody is teaching you how to be in a relationship. I think people just feel like they know how to do it because we're all in relationship. We're human, right? So we're all in relationship with people, but it doesn't mean you know how to do it in a healthy way, and you don't know how to sustain a healthy romantic relationship. And so, like, there is nothing wrong. I even felt the stigma. Like, when we first started going to therapy, and I would mention it to people, and they would immediately be like, "Wait, what?" And I'd be like, "But there's nothing wrong with us. Like, we're fine." You know what I mean? And it shouldn't have to be that way. You should just be able to say, "Yeah, I'm going to counseling," and So just like I took my car in to get an oil change. Like nobody's like, what's
That
wrong with
part.
your car?
That
So,
part, right.
so yeah. So it is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful learning tool. And it just helps you get to know yourself.
Love that.
Yeah, for sure. And your partner, right?
partner,
And
yes.
so it goes back to, like doing the work, right? And so absolutely. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Any couple that's looking to actually step into that phase of your relationship, then definitely do the research, right? And so especially for us's,
Yes.
Yeah.
for
Yeah. No.
you're not always going to be a right fit for
That's
every
good.
counselor, and
good.
every counselor doesn't have the same specialty. So
That's
you need to
good.
understand
That's
that
good.
as well, right? So do the research, and then make those phone calls.
Yep.
Those consultations are free,
Yep.
but we lined them up and we just made the phone calls one by one, and we set up the calls, and then afterwards we were able to make up our mind, And so I definitely think that that's the best process for finding the right fit. And then once you do, then you have to stay consistent, because nobody gets fixed just from one session,
good.
Right.
That's good.
And I see that happen
process.
quite often is people are like, well, I went,
It didn't work out.
or it might have went pretty good. Well, it was pretty good.
I'm
also,
healed.
Right.
yeah, you got to
Yes,
give
yes.
the counselor time
Right.
to even know you,
Right.
to get to know you.
Right.
She hasn't even, or he hasn't even uncovered your family dynamics,
That's
or
good.
what kind of hurt you've had, or you're harboring from your past. Like, they don't know that. So they're not going to get there in one session, right?
Yep.
They might not even get there in a year, but your journey is your journey.
That's good.
And so it's important that you stay consistent once you actually start.
I love this. Don't y'all love this couple? I love them.
we love
All of us
you.
need to go to couples therapy. Listen. So I just want to leave you guys with some tools. And while you're in the process of, finding a therapist in your relationship. So I just want to give you some tools to implement to strengthen your relationship that, I'm taking away from the Fraziers, right? So first and foremost, active listening, right? Truly learn how to listen into what your partner is saying without interrupting, maybe jumping to a conclusion, creating a space for them to feel understood, validated, right? That will strengthen emotional intimacy. And listen, they said daily check-ins, y'all. Check in with your spouse, like go beyond the surface level. That is the only way to deepen that connection and foster understanding, right? I will also add expressing appreciation. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I just love even just the touch and the stuff. They are showing that they love and they appreciate each other, guys. That goes a long way. A sense of appreciation, it strengthens the bond, and even just quality time, guys. Life gets busy, as they mentioned, but making intentional time for one another is crucial, whether that's a date night, a weekend getaway, or just a quiet evening at home. It is important that you are intentional. I took that away from y'all. Listen, intentional about your relationship. And one other one that I do want to add is learn to apologize and forgive. Listen, apologies and forgiveness go a long way. They are vital, right? And so sometimes what one person perceives happen that caused the conflict, another person is going to think of it differently. But sometimes it's just about agreeing to disagree and just apologizing, forgiving, to release any resentment so that you can continue to foster a healthy relationship. And one last thing that Deniece said that I love, set goals for your relationship, right? Whether it's improving communication or just goals for the future, make sure you do so, right? And so implementing these tools consistently can foster a deeper emotional connection, build resiliency in the face of challenges, and ultimately, guys, create a stronger, more fulfilling relationship. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me.
Oh,
I
thank you.
took so much away from you guys, and I know the viewers and the listeners will as well. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and share it with somebody. You never know who is in need of this conversation. We just want to make sure we provide hope and conversations with hope for our community so we can break the stigma around mental health and ultimately even just improve our relationships. So thank you guys for taking time. Until next time.